We are 2 days out from Iceland. Nicole has sent the itinerary to my mom. I was like, hey mom, what am I doing? What am I gonna do? Where are we going? And she was like, I'm not telling you anything. Nicole, you should be very proud of her. She has not spilled one secret. She has mentioned that there is something on the list that she thinks I'm gonna find really exciting, and she had to read it 3 times. Hopefully I can guess what that is. I'm actually really excited to see if I can guess what it is.
Morning of day
6? Day 6.
Day 6. We are headed to
Somewhere.
To do what?
To look at waterfalls and black sand beaches.
Well, that's it, but first we gotta find the bus. So
yeah.
We're headed to the bus station.
Not
the normal bus station, like a new bus station, so we're just meandering.
We don't know where we're going yet. Well, we're following the GPS, so hopefully
the
GPS.
Yeah, so recap from yesterday.
Back to Reykjavik. We did our tootling around to get souvenirs and gifts. And then Ice Bar.
Ice bar, how was that?
It was good. I lost at ice hockey, but you know, whatever.
Yeah, the drink was pretty good. I really like the idea that you can shout out on your glass after you're done.
Yeah,
like,
that's pretty
it's
cool.
just made out of ice.
Yeah.
Like a big old like. Anyway, today should be pretty good. It's gonna be a long day. Full day bus tour, a couple waterfalls, and the black sand beach. And then I think it's like Iceland's southernmost town of Vik or something like that.
Yep.
So that should be exciting.
There's a soup restaurant in Vik.
Okay, that's what I'm hoping for puffins. I didn't Google if it was even a possibility. As long as I don't know, it's always a possibility, and I want puffins. That's all. Over and out.
Over and out.
And the reason we're waiting for a couple of minutes, I actually don't know why we're waiting for a couple of minutes. Let's just do things. Does anybody need to go to the bathroom? Because we're going 1 hour and a half non-stop. So you better run and well, don't run, just walk in. I like the concept of time. I like the concept of time. And it feels like 10 seconds, but it's actually correct. Yes. 2.7 minutes that it's going to take you to do all those kind of things. Plus extra 15 seconds in case there is a traffic jam at the door. So technically he's about 3.1 minutes doing all the things, which is perfectly fine. Now we're gonna go somewhere. Great. We're gonna do something.
Awesome.
And then we're gonna come back here.
Even better.
The idea is to take you out of Reykjavik and drive for the first hour and a half, and then drive for the last hour and a half. That is the biggest challenge. This is how a new guide tells you about the Northern Lights. He comes in smiling, everything is great, and he comes through and he goes, "Hi, everybody here ready to see the lights?" And people go, "Yeah." He hypes up the crowd so much that people expect to see some, I don't know, unicorns falling from the sky. Then you arrive and then he goes like, "Okay, we're here, everybody out. And you go outside and it's dark and it's cold and it's miserable and you see nothing because it's just black sky, stars and people just standing there like, "Where's the lights?" And he's like, "They're gonna come, any minute now, we're just gonna wait." "How long?" I don't know. At like midnight, he goes, "Sorry guys, well, we did try to come and see them, but looks like they're lazy, they didn't want to come through." Right? That's the new guy. Now this is how experienced guys do the Northern Lights. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please fasten your seatbelts, sit down, and we're going to travel for about 1 hour into the location that we don't know yet. And when we arrive, please stay on the bus because it's warm inside. And I'll go outside and I'll watch and listen. And when you hear them, you can come out and see them. People like, hear them? What are you talking about? You hear the lights before you see them. That's a concept that is very alien to the visual representation of the plasma traveling from the sun and hitting the Earth magnetic field. But what you're hearing is not the lights, you're hearing people screaming. They usually go, "Oh my God, the lights!" And it's like, "Yep, they're here, let's go." And then you go out, you stay outside for like 15 minutes, maybe, somewhere between 5 and 15 minutes, and then they die down. He goes, "Yep, back in the car, here's some hot chocolate, and maybe some, Jägermeister, if you brought it with you only, to keep you warm." And then in half an hour, there may be another storm, like a secondary and third one. And then around midnight he just brings you home, and that's a successful Northern Lights. But if you don't see it, at least he tells you like it's an elusive natural phenomenon that comes in, right? So this is what happens on the ground here when you arrive.
What did you just say?
I asked if there are actually volcanoes in Iceland.
There's volcanoes in Iceland. Yeah.
We're all good.
This road trip really felt like a full circle moment because off on our right, our tour guide pointed out those mountains that you see in the distance, that's actually part of an island where the Eldfell eruption took place that we learned about at our lava show. In January 1973, a fissure suddenly opened at the edge of a town in part of Iceland's Westman Islands, forcing a full overnight evacuation. Lava flows and ash buried or burned hundreds of buildings, and the harbor, the community's lifeline, was nearly sealed shut. In a landmark effort, firefighters and volunteers sprayed seawater on advancing lava to slow and redirect it, ultimately saving the harbor and portions of the town. After the eruption ended, the still hot lava fields became an unexpected resource. Geothermal engineers tapped the retained heat for district heating, providing warm water and energy for years after the disaster. It became a famous example of Iceland turning volcanic destruction into long-term community benefit. We had officially arrived in the south of Iceland, and we're getting a teaser look at what we could expect on our road trip today. South Iceland is known for its dramatic, postcard-worthy landscapes and incredible natural power. Along the coast, you'll find black sand beaches like those near Reynisfjara, framed by basalt sea stacks and crashing Atlantic waves.
If you see something, feel free to let me know. Screaming usually does the trick, but if you want to be efficient, you go rocks, rocks forward, rocks backward. That usually will give me some sort of a way of knowing where they are.
Inland, iconic waterfalls such as Seljalandsfoss and Skogafoss thunder down from ancient cliffs, while massive glaciers like Vatnajökull, probably, dominate the skyline. The region is also home to volcanoes, lava fields, glacier lagoons, and some of Iceland's most famous Golden Circle sites, making South Iceland a showcase of fire and ice in one unforgettable stretch of landscape. On our right, we drove by one of the filming locations for the film Interstellar.
So yeah, this was the Christopher Nolan Interstellar landing on the ocean planet. I was there, there was like a crane with a spaceship. There were like a couple of tractors, the cameras, the people dressed up in tinfoil suits. I was like, Bjork must be making a new music video. And I was wrong. That was Nolan's, because later on I was like Leonardo DiCaprio in Once Upon in Hollywood. I was like, that was me. I was like, that's the thing. I was there. I was thinking like, it was so hilarious. I should have stopped and shouted something stupid like, oi, all right, and drive away. But I didn't. That's where people used to live in. See all those things? The walls are still standing, the roofs are gone. The farmer was like, oh wow, I got the front roof made out of concrete, yay! But the roof still caved in, and then he just screw it, he moved it further south. Those farms are old, I think they're like 400 years old, except those ones which made out of concrete. There's another remnant of an old farm, specifically built around the stones. One stone never ends up in the same place.
I think a requirement for a road trip is always to stop for snacks, and this one was no exception. Our first stop was at this charming little bakery, and yes, I got myself a cinnamon roll. And I have to say, it was absolutely delicious. And on our way to our first official stop, where we get to get out and explore a little bit, we got another teaser look at something we would see later on in the day. Much like the waterfall we saw earlier, this is the glacier that we're going to be stopping by on our way back to Reykjavik. I think Laura is particularly excited about this one. But that wasn't the only icy thing we were seeing on our drive down. Our driver was a little bit concerned because he didn't have his winter tires on, and there was a little bit of slush in the rain, so a little bit of snow threatening to come down as we were driving along the route.
Right, I'm going to be a bit careful coming down because I don't know if there's ice in the road. There's the beach where we're going now. See the big giant thumb sticking out of the ground? That's what I was talking about earlier. You know, it's a volcanic core. Wow.
thought those were like puffins, but I think they're just gulls. They're like little white birds nesting on the cliff.
These were in fact not puffins. But puffins are one of Iceland's, and myself's, most beloved wildlife icons. And Iceland is one of the best places in the world to see them. The puffins you see in Iceland are Atlantic puffin. They're small seabirds with black and white bodies and bright orange feet. But what makes them famous is their colorful, triangular beak, which becomes especially vibrant during breeding season. Iceland is home to roughly 60% of the world's Atlantic puffin population during nesting season. Millions return each spring to breed on coastal cliffs and offshore islands. Some of the best-known puffin colonies can be found at Latrabjarg, Europe's largest bird cliff. They're also found at dramatic cliffs in South Iceland, and also in Vestmannaeyjar. Oh, I don't even know how to say that. The island we drove by earlier on our road trip is one of the largest puffin colonies in the world. However, puffins are only on land in Iceland from late April through August. So our trip here in October means that we, unfortunately, miss them. The rest of the year, they live entirely at sea, often far out in the North Atlantic. On land, they nest in burrows dug into grassy cliff tops, where they lay a single egg. Both parents take turns caring for the chick, called a puffling. Puffins are surprisingly powerful swimmers and can dive up to 60 meters, about 200 feet, to catch small fish like sand eels. They use their wings to fly underwater. Puffins are deeply woven into Icelandic identity. In places like Himei, local children traditionally help rescue lost pufflings each fall, guiding them safely back to the sea after they become disoriented by town lights. This activity is very high up on my bucket list. It first started when I came across a TikTok of someone basically yeeting a young puffling off of a cliff, which looked a little bit traumatic, but it turns out it's all about helping them find their way back.
People in Iceland have been scooping up baby puffins and tossing them off cliffs and shorelines for the last month or so. These people are on puffling patrol, and by throwing the baby puffins, they're actually saving them. During puffling season in late summer, baby puffins make their way out to the ocean, where they'll spend the next few years before coming back to land to mate. To find the ocean, they use the light of the moon as a guide, but sometimes the city lights confuse them and they make their way into town instead. When this happens, it's unlikely that they'll end up finding their way to the ocean, and their chances of survival at that point without any help are pretty low. So throughout puffling season, people go on puffling patrol and search the town after dark for any pufflings who have lost their way. They keep the puffins safe in cardboard boxes overnight and then take them to wildlife experts, where they get a health exam and then get a green light to be released. Once they're ready to go, it's time to bring the baby puffins to a beach or a cliff and toss them into the ocean so they'll be set back on course. And the puffling patrol tradition isn't just great for the puffins. It also brings the community of the Westman Islands together every year, uniting people over a good cause.
I definitely want to help with that. It's like a Puffin Round Up. Hey, Laura, write that down. Next time we go, no horse roundup, we go Puffin Roundups. That's where it should be at. Or someone in Iceland needs to make this a tourist thing, because there's untapped potential there. In short, puffins are cute, charismatic, and completely tied to Iceland's coastal landscape, a true symbol of summer in North Atlantic.